On December 11, 1990, Amtrak train number 66, the Night Owl, departed Union Station in Washington, D.C. at 10:30 p.m. The Night Owl was Amtrak's overnight service on the Northeastern Corridor and was scheduled to arrive at Boston South Station at 8:35 a.m. on December 12. The train was led by Amtrak AEM-7, but however, electrification ended in New Haven, Connecticut. So two Amtrak F40PH locomotives, number 272 and 366, were assigned to pull the Night Owl from New Haven to Boston. Behind the two Amtrak locomotives was a maternity healing car, a baggage car, 3 coaches, a diner, and 2 sleeping cars, another baggage car, and another maternity healing car. There were 190 passengers and 7 crew members on board. Meanwhile, MBTA commuter train number 906 was a regular scheduled commuter train on the Stoughton line inbound from Stoughton to South Station. The train consisted of EMD F40PH-2C locomotive 1073, 6 passenger cars, and cab car 1614. The train was operating in push-pull mode, meaning that the locomotive was pushing the train while the cab car is in front of the train. There were 900 passengers and 5 crew members on board. The western approach to Back Bay is a 3 triple-track tunnel with tracks number 3, 1, and 2. The MBTA train was traveling on track 1, while the Night Owl was on track 2. The two tracks are immediately adjacent, with no barriers between them. The maximum speed of all 3 tracks was 30 miles per hour, but Amtrak 66 was approaching the curve at 108 miles per hour. The engineer began braking the train and reducing the throttle. As the train was still slowing down, the engineer noticed there was a curb up ahead. He quickly put the train to full emergency, but at this rate, it was too little and too late. At 8:23 a.m., the Amtrak train left the tracks and struck the MBTA locomotive on the adjacent track. The collision caused all 3 locomotives, 5 Amtrak cars, and 1 MBTA coach to the rail. The tunnel suffered damage, including its supports, when the 2 trains jackknifed into each other, and it managed enough to create a hole in the street of Dartmouth. Since the collision occurred in downtown Boston, emergency personnel arrived on the scene almost immediately. 453 people were injured, 50 on the Night Owl, 396 on the MBTA train, and 7 firefighters who were helping the people out of the wreckage. But thankfully, nobody was killed. Back Bay was closed for 6 days after the accident. The total damage was estimated to be $14 million. But what could cause that train to derail and collide into another train, and why? The National Transportation Safety Board investigations focused on the operation of the Night Owl. The 2 Amtrak crews have been in the cab of the lead locomotive, Willie E. Copeland, the engineer, and Richard Emerson, a business engineer. Emerson was operating the locomotive under Copeland's supervision for the entire trip. Copeland had worked in the railroad industry since 1957. He has been an engineer in 1969 and a road foreman for Amtrak. But in 1979, he ignored several stop signals and almost reached an open drawbridge in Pelham Bay. Luckily, an automatic derail prevented a more serious accident. Amtrak fired Copeland over the incident, but he was rehired in 1983. However, that was not the only issue. In March 1990, he was banned from running Metro-North territory after twice running through temporary stop signals set up to protect railroad workers working on an adjacent track. Anderson had joined Amtrak as a ticket clerk in 1973 and entered the engineering training program in early 1990. He had made 2 round trips over the territory as part of his training program. Copeland was personal acquaintance with Anderson, but had supervised other engineers. The review of the train's data recorder showed that Night Owl was going 100 miles per hour and determined to make up for lost time between New Haven and Boston. Copeland claimed he instructed Anderson to begin braking at Rogers Station approximately 1 mile from Back Bay, but the data recorder did not show the evidence of this. In view of the NTSB, even if the night owl began braking at the point when it was still going too fast and when it reached the curve, any speed over 60 miles an hour can lead to a derailment and a collision with another train. Given the involvement of Anderson, the NTSB reviewed Amtrak's locomotive engineering training program and pinpointed several areas of improvement. Anderson was learning the New Haven to Boston route even as he was learning to operate the locomotive itself. Locomotive engineers who were supervising apprentice engineers did not receive special training or instructions for their task. The NTSB raised particular concerns about Copeland serving in his role, given his service record. More likely, he should never be rehired in 1983. The NTSB found Amtrak at total fault for the accident, and that the problem caused was Anderson failing to brake the train in time and Copeland's failure to supervise him protectively. The NTSB also fault Amtrak supervisors of its engineers training program and the lack of warning devices on the curve. The NTSB later changed its findings to remove special references to Anderson, and the changes put the problem caused blaming Copeland for failing to protect supervising and ensure the train was braking in time. In the end, the 2 Amtrak locomotives, the 1 MBTA locomotive, 2 Amtrak cars, and 1 MBTA coach were damaged beyond repair and scrapped, while the rest of the Amtrak and MBTA cars, including cab car 1614, were repaired and returned to service. Amtrak fired Abramson and Copeland, and by 1992, Amtrak can install automatic warning devices that will brake a train if it's going too fast. Unfortunately, those devices were not available no more after the 2015 Pittsburgh derailment, but since positive train control is installed in the northeastern corridor, we could just all hope that an accident like this could never, ever happen again. Okay, back. Amtrak will be fixed again. And I actually got a report about it.